Hi, welcome back to Close by Sam. It is Monday, a new week. We have an easy puzzle, so to start afresh, but I'm gonna seek redemption from yesterday. Don't think I'm gonna be forgetting about my whole shenanigan yesterday, where I spent half an hour doing the same thing over and over just because I myself made a stupid mistake. So I'm gonna play the brutal puzzle from the bonus ones from the newsletter today as well. Because it's Double Monday, and if you're new here, we play Clues by Sam, a daily puzzle on the channel, and in it there are 20 people, each of which is either a criminal or an innocent, and we gotta figure that out using clues. Nobody lies, not even the criminals. You can play with me by clicking the link in the description, and I'm gonna be explaining as I solve, so if I make another mistake, don't judge me. Let's see how this goes. We start with Salil telling us that Gabe is one of Hope's 4 innocent neighbors. Okay, so Hope has 5 neighbors total: Diane, Chase, Gabe, Kim, and Mary. And 4 of them are innocents. Gabe is one of those 4, and that means that Hope has only 1 criminal neighbor, so we keep that in mind. I'm not gonna click Salil's clue to dismiss it because it is gonna remind me in the future, probably, that Hope has 4 innocent neighbors. Gabe says that he's the only innocent guard, so any other guards that we have are gonna be criminals, and that means Hope and Flora. Now, we don't need Gabe's clue anymore because it doesn't give us any more information that we could use. But Flora says that exactly 1 innocent in column B is neighboring Adam. Okay, Adam has 2 people in column B neighboring him, Betty and Flora. One of them is already a criminal, so the innocent has to be the other one. And that clue doesn't say anything else about Adam or the people in column B. So I can click it to dismiss it so it doesn't catch our attention again. But don't do that if there is information to be reminded of later. Betty says there are more innocent teachers than innocent guards. We have 2 criminal guards and 1 innocent one. How many teachers do we have? We have Betty, Diane. If we double click a clue that mentions a name or somebody, if we double click a clue that mentions somebody or a profession, it's gonna highlight the person mentioned or everybody that is in that profession. So we double click Betty's, and because it mentions guards, then it highlights all of the guards, and because it mentions teachers, it also highlights all of the teachers. In this case, we already have 1 innocent, so the other teacher has to be a criminal. Oh, there are more innocent teachers than innocent guards, so we have to have a second innocent. Diane is an innocent, and now we don't need Betty's school. Diane says that 2 of the 5 innocents neighboring Flora are in column C. So Flora has 8 neighbors, 5 of which are innocents, which makes 3 criminals, and 2 of those innocents are in column C. So Gabe is one of those. The other one is either going to be Chase or Kim, so we tag them with the same color to indicate that they are going to be opposites. If we make Kim an innocent, we know that Chase is automatically a criminal. Now, Flora has 1 criminal neighbor now, right? She needs 2 more. Oh, we don't know where that person is, where those 2 people are. What we know is Hope's 3rd innocent neighbor is here, and Hope's only criminal neighbor is here. So we know that Mary couldn't be a criminal, right? Because if we look at Salil's school, we are reminded that there's only 1 criminal neighbor in Hope, which makes Mary an innocent. Now, Mary says that both innocents below Diane are connected. So Diane has Mary herself below her, which makes the second innocent connected to Mary, and it couldn't be Hope because Hope is already a criminal, so it has to be Ruth. If Ruth is the second and last, that makes Xavier a criminal, and Xavier tells us straight away that Adam is an innocent. Good. Very factual. Adam says that 1 innocent in column B is neighboring Elsa. So Elsa has 3 people in column B neighboring her, one of which is an innocent, and that's Betty. Betty already is an innocent, and she's in column B neighboring Elsa, so Justin is a criminal. Now, we do know that Flora's third and last criminal neighbor is either going to be Elsa or Igor, so we can tag them as such. And we can dismiss Diane's clue because we have all of that information on the tags. We don't need Adam's clue anymore. Justin says that Olive is one of Tyler's 3 criminal neighbors. So Olive is a criminal, and Tyler has 5 neighbors total, 3 criminals, 2 innocents. Olive says that Chase has more criminal neighbors than Xavier. Where's Chase? Chase has 2 criminal neighbors, which means that Xavier couldn't have 2, but he could have 1. The thing is, we know that Tyler has 3 criminal neighbors, right? If both Wally and Pam were innocent, although that can happen for Xavier, it's possible because 0 is less than 2. Tyler wouldn't have enough people to make his 3 criminals, right? Because it would only be Nicole and Olive. So we need Tyler's 3rd criminal neighbor to be either Pam or Wally, but we couldn't have both of them be criminals, otherwise Chase and Xavier would have the same number. So we know now that Nicole is a criminal, and we don't need Olive's clue because it has the information is in the tags. Nicole says that Salil and Chase have an equal number of criminal neighbors. So Salil has 2 and Chase has 2, which makes the 3rd and last neighbor for Salil an innocent. We don't need Nicole's clue anymore. Tyler says that an odd number of innocents on the edges neighbor Flora. So Flora has 5 people on the edges neighboring her: Chase, Betty, Adam, Elsa, and Igor. We know about 3 of them being innocents already, right? Because Adam and Betty are revealed, and we're gonna have for sure a 3rd innocent neighboring Flora here because both Elsa and Igor, who are opposites, neighbor her. And that's an odd number, 3. So we can't have Chase, the last neighbor for Flora on the edge, be an innocent, otherwise she would end up with 4 neighbors who are innocent on the edge. So Chase has to be a criminal, which makes him an innocent because of the color tags. Kim says there's an odd number of innocents neighboring Justin. And same as happened with Flora, Justin has 3 innocents if we take into account Elsa and Igor. And that's an odd number already, so we know that Pam is going to be a criminal, which makes Wally an innocent. Now Pam tells us that row 4 has more criminals than any other row. And row 4 has 3 criminals, so we couldn't have row 2 have 1 more criminal because that would make row 2 and row 4 have the same number of criminals. Elsa is an innocent then, which makes Igor a criminal, and we are done this one. Very nice. I feel like I spoke so fast all the time there, but this is gonna be it, and we are gonna jump straight into the brutal puzzle from the bonus ones. Am I gonna get redeemed? Let's restart. It doesn't tell that I'm gonna lose my stats. Oh, now it does. But I can't see the bonus puzzle stats anywhere, like in the homepage. It just doesn't show up, so not really sure how that goes. But we start this one with Zed telling us there are no innocents in between Barb and Ronald. There's 2 people, none of them are gonna be innocents. Now Freya says that only one of the 2 innocents to the right of Andre is Ivan's neighbor, so 1 here, and the second innocent is Barb. Coomer says there are more criminals in column A than column C. And Barb says there's an odd number of innocents in row 1. Okay, so we need a 3rd one in row 1. Andre now says that only one of the 4 innocents neighboring Ronald is above Wanda. Okay, so Megan and Sarah. Oh, my light went out. I don't want to do this with no light. The light gives a dramatic effect. Very important. What was I doing? 4 innocents neighboring Ronald. Okay. What we know now is that column C has 1 innocent here. But there are more criminals in column A than column C. So 1 criminal here. Ronald has to have 4 criminals, right? because he has 8 neighbors and 4 of them are innocent, so 4 criminals. What if all of these people here are criminals? Now we have 3 criminals in column A, which works for having less than that in column C. Like, both Clyde and Hall would have to be innocents. I guess they could be criminal if Emma is criminal. In any way, what if I make... Let's play some trading here. What if I make Wanda a criminal? Then one innocent would have to move to column A. And now we have 2 and 2. So Emma and Hall, could both of them be criminals? That would end up leaving it all to Clyde. What if Vicky is a criminal? And we make Wanda an innocent. I don't think that's what I have to look at. I think I have to look at Hall. Not Hall again. Oh my god. Okay. The thing is, I have to try and make all of these guys innocents, which I know just can't happen. Jane, Peter, and Uma, all who neighbor Ronald, I can't make all of them innocents. Because then we would already have more criminals in column C than column A. And we need the opposite of that to happen. So all of these guys are gonna be... Oh, Kumar is a criminal neighboring Ronald. So that's important to know. Okay. That makes 3 criminals here and 4 with Vicky. But this can happen. Can Wanda ever be a criminal? If she's ever a criminal, like let's say that she's a criminal and there's 1 criminal neighboring Ronald in column A and Vicky is an innocent. Now we have 2 criminals in column C, and we can have at most 2 criminals in column A if Emma is a criminal. There is no way that column A has more criminals than column C. And if Vicky is a criminal, same thing goes. Like, the important thing is that column A has more criminals, so Wanda can't be one of them. Now, she gives us a new clue. Freya has exactly 6 innocent neighbors. Ooh. So Freya has 8 neighbors as well. 6 of them are innocents, which makes 2 criminals. One of them is Kumar, already shared with Ronald. So if we know that she can have at most 2 criminal neighbors, and that means that she can share at most 1 criminal with Ronald. Let's try to make Emma a criminal now. If that happens, then both Jane and Megan, Hall and Clyde are all innocents. That's perfect. It's perfect because column C has just 1 criminal, while column A is gonna have a lot of them. Can we make Hall a criminal? If that's the case, we end up with 2 and 2. So no, we can't have Hall be the criminal here. But he gives us a new clue. Exactly 1 innocent neighboring Ronald is in row 4. So the people in row 4 who neighbor Ronald are opposites. What does that mean? Because they don't neighbor Freya. But it gives me something. Do I have to look at Sarah now? If I make Megan a criminal, Emma and Jane are all innocents, and Peter is a criminal. I think I had to look at Clyde actually. I can't have Peter be an innocent. I'm jumping all over the place, but let me make Peter an innocent. If I do that, Sarah is a criminal, which makes Megan an innocent. Freya would need to have one criminal. If it were Clyde, that breaks everything. Because now there's too many criminals in column C that can't be in column A. Even if I make Megan a criminal. No, because if I make Clyde a criminal, Megan can't even be a criminal. Because she neighbors Freya as well. And we know that Freya has only one more criminal neighbor, so Clyde can't be a criminal. These two guys are opposites. Now Clyde says that only one row has exactly 2 innocents. It isn't row 1 for sure. And Diane says that Coomer has exactly 4 innocent neighbors. Coomer jumps into the mix. I am noticing a pattern in the brutal puzzles that I don't think I have noticed in the evil ones. Where we gotta play the Minesweeper thing. So, Kumar also has 4 innocent neighbors and 4 criminal ones, just like Freya, just like Ronald. 2 of them are here, Megan and Sarah, shared with Ronald, and one of which shared with Freya. We know that if we make Megan criminal, Jane and Emma are innocents. Now, if we make Megan the opposite, and I'm looking at Ronald here, we make Megan innocent. Then Kumar would still need 2 innocents, 2 criminals, sorry. But Kumar could only ever share 1 criminal with Freya, so Emma and Jane couldn't both be criminals, even if Megan is an innocent. And when she is a criminal, like we just saw, then we know that Freya has her last criminal, so both Jane and Emma are innocent. So either they are both innocents or they are opposites. In any case, Ronald has to be a criminal. Now. No, not Megan. Ronald says there are more criminals in row 2 than row 5. There could be at most 2 criminals in row 5. In which case, there would have to be 3 criminals in row 2. But I think this clue is pointing us towards only one row has exactly 2 innocents, because if both Uma and Vicky are criminals, what does that do for us? It makes both Emma and Ivan criminals, and because of Emma and Freya already having her last criminal neighbor, Jane and Megan are innocents, which makes Sarah criminal and Peter innocent. Now, Ronald has 4, Coomer has 4 and Freya has 2. So that's fine. So it's not about a role that has 2 incense. Is it? And what if there is, because we know that Peter and Sarah are opposites, what if there is one incense in row 5 naming Ronald here? Like, what if Uma is an incense? First of all, that wouldn't work. Let me not do this with Uma. Let me do this with Vicky. If I do this with Vicky, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure because I'm thinking about the role thing, and I don't know anything about Holly and Thor. I might try to make Emma an innocent and see how that goes. That makes Jane and Megan opposites and Peter and Sarah opposites, which makes Uma and Vicky opposites. What if I make Jane a criminal? If I do that, Emma and Megan are both innocents. And then Ronald will need one criminal down here. I'm not seeing it. What am I supposed to be looking at? Have I ever made Sarah an innocent again? Have I ever done that? It works for Coomer. It surely works for Ronald. I think I may be looking at Ivan because of the role thing, which I'm fixated in, and I don't want to be fixated at anything because when I am fixated, we know what happens. Okay. Then both Uma and Vicky are criminals because of Ronald. I guess we can't have Thor being innocent. We may if there is an innocent in row 5, so it's not applicable 100%. I don't want to jump onto that. And I have tried making Jane a criminal and that worked. Right? That worked fine. Coomer has 4, Frey has only 1, and Ronald is gonna have 1 criminal here. Maybe I have to look at Vicky ever being an innocent, because if Vicky is an innocent, ever being a criminal, I mean, because if Vicky is a criminal, then this happens. Column A has the same amount of criminals as column C. Unless I make Peter criminal and Sarah innocent. But then this happens. So Vicky can't ever be criminal. What? She can't be criminal if both of these guys are criminals. That's not redemption. Only one of the 4 instances naming Ronald above Wanda. I don't need that anymore because I have the tags. Coomer has 4 instant neighbors. We know that at most one of these guys can be criminal, right? Because we can't have both Emma and Jane be criminals for Freya. But we can't have both of them be innocents if Megan is criminal. What I haven't looked at. I tried Jane, I tried Emma. Am I getting worse at this? Am I unlearning? Who am I? This works. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ivan would be criminal. Ollie would be. No. Actually, Ivan, Ollie, and Thor are all in the same situation. Kumar has exactly 4 innocent neighbors. 3, 4. Maybe it's Uma. If I ever make Uma innocent. Because did I try Jane? No, I tried Vicky. If I make Uma innocent, what happens? 1, 2. It could be 3, 4. Or 3, 4. Could it? 1, 2, 3, 4. We couldn't have all of these people be innocents, right? Like, this just doesn't work, so Vicky would have to be innocent. Is Vicky ever able to be a criminal? How does this work? 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Also, this works. Kumar has exactly 4 innocent neighbors. Okay, so if we're not doing the Minesweeper thing, or I guess we are, because we know Kumar is gonna have 1. He's gonna have 2 more criminals. Kumar. Only one of them can be shared with Freya, which means one of them has to be shared with Ronald. If we make Emma criminal, we know that Kumar is fine. But we gotta look at Ivan. 1, 2, 3, 4. We gotta look at Ivan. I think Ivan is never an innocent. but I'm not really sure that's it. I think I am getting worse. Which is great. I mean, it's not what I mean. I don't mean I'm getting worse in the sense that I'm devolving. I mean, the puzzles are actually getting better, and I'm not advancing at the same pace, which means I am objectively worse at doing them, but I can get better. Forget about me. Oh, this is gonna be another long video? No. Don't do that to me. I'm gonna go through the clues I've read. For instance, neighboring row node. Okay, we know that. So now number of instances in row 1. I definitely don't need that. Only one row has 2 instances. Kummer has 4 instant neighbors. Okay, we know that. 2 instances to the right of Andre. We know who they are. 1 instant neighboring row node is in row 4, who's either Peter or Sarah. So we know that Thor couldn't be we know that Thor can be an instant if no other rows have 2 instances. I keep wanting to jump into that conclusion, but it's just not. It's just not. There are more criminals in column A than column C, which means we can't have only one criminal in column A, but I don't think that is gonna happen ever again. Because let's make, for example, Jane criminal. Now, I mean, Uma would have to be a criminal here, but it can happen. It can happen. And if Peter is a criminal, we already know that if Uma is a criminal. Okay, so that's it. There are more criminals in row 2 than row 5. I think this is maybe what I'm... Because if this is the situation here, then we can't have more criminals in row 5. But who is this talking about? Is it talking about Megan? Because if I make Megan criminal, that makes everybody else in neighbors Freya innocent. And it puts only one criminal in row 5, which makes row 2 able to have row 2 able to have 2 criminals. Is this what I haven't been looking at? But I tried Jane last. No, I tried Vicky. Forget about me, please. Megan is instant because of Jane. If I do this. Now we only put one criminal in row 5. But that is what we want. We don't want 2 criminals in row 5. If we have 2 criminals in row 5, Ronald can only have one more criminal, so it has to be Sarah. In this case, Jane has to be an innocent for Ronald. And Emma has to be a criminal, which makes Ivan a criminal because we need 3 to make more than row 5. So that has to happen. Now, I tried Jane last. If I ever make Ivan an innocent, what has to happen is just that these guys have to become opposites, and Sarah has to become. Hmm. If I ever make Ivan an instant, because we know that we couldn't have both Uma and Vicky be instants, or can we? Can we? If I make Sarah an innocent? No, I can't. If I make Sarah a criminal? That's even worse. I can't have both of these guys be innocents. Because that would give Ronald too many innocents. So we have at least one here, which means we need at least a second one who is a criminal in row 2. If it ends up being Emma and Ivan is an innocent, then this chain goes. Jane and Megan are innocent, Sarah criminal, Peter innocent. And this is Ronald's 4 innocent, so Uma and Vicky would both be criminals, and now we have the same. So there's no way for Ivan to be innocent. Now Ivan says there are more innocents in row 5 than row. There are more innocents in row 1 than row 3, and we have 3 innocents in row 1, so we have to have at most 2 in row 3. Which is okay. It just means that we can't have Ollie, Megan, and Jane all be innocent. But Megan and Jane can be opposites. But if they are opposites and Ollie is an innocent, what happens then? We have 2 rows with 2 innocents. And if Jane is a criminal, same happens again. So it can have Ollie be an innocent, that it? Because we know that Jane and Megan can't both be criminals because of Freya. They can't both be innocents because if both of them are innocents, what happens then? What happens then if both of them are innocents? Then Sarah is a criminal and Peter is an innocent. And now we have 2 rows with 2 criminals and 2 innocents. 2, 3, 4. If Ollie is a criminal. So Ollie is an innocent. Ollie is a criminal. No. Yeah. No. 2. If both Jane and Megan. Guys, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassing myself on the internet. Jane and Megan both are innocents. That makes Emma a criminal. We can't have Ollie be an innocent because that would make row 1 have the same number of innocents as row 3, which we know from Ivan that can't happen. But if Ollie is a criminal and these 2 are innocents, we have 2. So it's not Ollie that I have to look at. Is Jane and Megan not being samesies, which makes Emma innocent. And why was it that Ollie couldn't be an instant with these guys being opposites? What happens? We have one, two. There are more instances in row 1 than row 3. I am getting worse. There are more criminals in row 2 than row 5. Thor? This is harder than brutal, I think. There are more instances in row 1 than row 3. One of the 4 instances in bring Ronald's above Wanda. I don't need that clue anymore. Coomer. Instant neighbors. Coomer's gonna have a third one, which means there's only gonna be one person here who's either Emma, Jane, or Peter. That's okay. That makes Uma a criminal, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Because if Coomer has to have 4 innocent neighbors, which means Coomer has to have 4 criminal neighbors, and 2 of them are here. A third one is in column C, and Coomer can only have 1 here in column A. But column A needs 2 criminals because it has to have more criminals than column C, then Uma has to be a criminal. Oh, I am incredibly angry. Okay. Can I ever make Vicky a criminal now? And if I do, I'm more angry by my trial and error than by the puzzle being hard. Because I get so frustrated when I get a yellow because I shouldn't try things unless I'm 100% sure. And it makes me so angry. So, if Vicky is a criminal, then we know that Peter and Jane are both innocent because of Ronald having his 4th criminal. And Emma being an innocent. And Emma being a criminal, sorry. Now, we couldn't have Ollie be an innocent because row 3 can't have 3 innocents. We couldn't have Thor be an innocent because row 5 is the only row with 2 innocents. Sorry? Did it wrong there. If Vicky is an innocent though, things change. We could have Jane be a criminal. And with Jane being a criminal, Thor is also a criminal. As is Ollie. But if Vicky is an innocent and Jane is also an innocent, then Megan has to be a criminal. Because it's the only way Ronald can get his 4 criminals. And Freya has her last criminal neighbor here. Now, in that scenario, is Thor innocent? No. Thor is never innocent. Am I sure of that? I am sure. But can I prove that Thor is never an innocent? If Thor is an innocent, is there a way this could work? can Thor be? Because we know that Peter and Sarah are opposites. So let's look at this from the perspective of Thor. In any case, if Thor is ever an insect, he is gonna be a part of the only row that has two insects. Because we know that Peter and Sarah are opposites. So if they are opposites in such a scenario as Sarah being a criminal, then we are gonna end up with either row 5 also having two insects, or row 2 also having two insects. So there's no way for Thor to be an insect. So I was sure there, because I proved from his perspective that he couldn't be a criminal. This makes me want to play Demon Bluff again and Dupery, which I mentioned in my last stream. Now, Thor didn't give me any clue, which makes me sad. But now we know that it's either row 2 or row 5, right? So we know that Ollie couldn't be an instant. Or do we? Are we back to Jane and Megan? Oh, they can't both be innocent if Olive is innocent. And if they are opposites, then because of we end up with a second row here, who is a row with two instants. Or Emma has to be an instant if they are opposites. So Ollie couldn't be an instant ever. Angry. Now we know that the row with two instants is either row 2 or row 5. So Vicky and Emma are gonna be opposites. What does that mean to me? What does that mean to me? It means... Does it mean? Does it mean something? Does it mean anything? Does it mean anything to me? If this is the case, if Emma is a criminal, Jane and Megan are both innocents. And Ronald doesn't have enough criminals. But then there's no, it's the opposite. Then, because now there's no row with two. Oh, Megan and Jane is the row with two. And but then Ronald doesn't have. The thing is, if Megan and Jane are both innocents, now we know that we can't have. What? 1, 2, 3, 4. So Vicky would be a criminal. This works. No, it doesn't, because now Vicky makes row 5 the second row with two innocents. So we know that Jane and Megan are opposites. Oh my god. This is severely stressful. And if these guys are opposites, then Emma has to be innocent because of Freya, which makes Vicky a criminal because we can't have a second. It makes Vicky. I'm not gonna put it on the internet. Please. Oh. There's only there's only one innocent to the right of Ronald. It has to be Sarah is the only person who could be an innocent to the right of Ronald, and now Megan has to be a criminal. Ugh. I don't want to post this. But I will. If you're still watching me after all this, you are amazing. But I'm really tired of making 1 hour long playthroughs. It is really tiresome. Maybe I should play this again. I'm not gonna play this again. I appreciate you guys. Let's see how this goes. But it's funny. It's funny. It does really take a tone. A tone? It does really take a toll on my self-esteem here. And I'm not affected, really affected by it. I'm just I like sharing stuff with you guys. I feel like I don't know what the channel is about when I'm not teaching. I'm actually doing it wrong. But like I said yesterday, sometimes when we're live streaming, I am solving a puzzle on a game and I kind of have to do the trial and error method and I get stuck and I need people in chat to help me out. And I like that a lot. I like us having like communal thoughts and working together. Maybe I've been approaching these with too much eagerness because I have, like, I remember starting this very puzzle very fast. Probably because I was afraid that I was gonna do another long, brutal one and get it all wrong, and I did just that. So, I mean, today I got 2 yellows, whereas yesterday I didn't get any, but I feel like I let you down, you know? And I don't want to let you down. And I don't want to let myself down. And I don't want to. I want to teach you to actually be sure of your guess before you do. And I want to teach people to track back and see their mistakes. So, in a sense, I'm doing that because when I get a yellow, I usually tend to, of course, freak out a little, but try to figure out why that guess couldn't be true. I don't like saying guess because it's not a guess. You should be sure when you're doing the guess. But when you get a yellow, I want you to be able to think, okay, I want to learn why this can't be. I want to prove that the game is wrong. That the opposite of what I said was impossible. And if we try to prove that and we figure out that it was actually possible, we learn something in the process. So that's the message I want to leave. If you give up on me, it's okay. I accept it. And I've been feeling like I have been more expressive and more talkative in these videos, more reactive. So in a sense, it is changing me as well. hopefully for the better. I don't know. I'm never banging the desk or rage quitting in a violent way. I'm just not that person. But I feel like I am able to express more of my frustration and do a little more of a let out. I don't know where I'm going. Bye guys. I hope you have a great week. I hope you have nice weather, which I'm not having here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.